Alright, we will begin this live update here in just a few minutes. Just gonna allow a couple minutes for some people to join in. Maybe. Excuse me. Alright, good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock on this Saturday evening, and this is Jacob Melton here in the Southern Michigan Weather Center. And I just wanted to take some time this evening to provide a live update on what we're seeing with tomorrow, especially tomorrow afternoon and evenings, potential severe weather threat across the area. Excuse me. Starting off with a live look at our satellite and radar. Enable satellite. Whoops. Okay. Anyway, looking at the satellite and radar composite, we've had some rain showers ongoing across our local area throughout the day. It hasn't been anything much, just your nuisance rain showers. We're not expecting anything other than that tonight across our local area. There's the low chance of a rumble of thunder or two, no severe weather or anything like that. And even the chance of thunder is looking relatively low, as there's really no instability or anything to work with tonight. So, again, it's a low chance of a rumble of thunder, but more likely than not, it's just going to stay rain showers for us tonight across the area on a scattered and numerous basis. I have a little bit wider view to show you that in northern lower Michigan, on the other hand, they've been dealing with a lot of freezing rain. Along with a wintry mix, but especially the freezing rain, which has become quite impactful. Across the northern lower peninsula. I'm going to stop our loop here, as we do have a couple reports that I will display real quick. And that is near the Luzerne area in Oscoda County. That is about a quarter. Trade Spotter reported a quarter-inch of ice on guy wires and tree branches. Lost power approximately 10 minutes prior to calling. There's been quite a few power outages up that way. Once you get above a quarter-inch of ice, that is when you start seeing power outages. And that's also the gusty winds that have been up there from time to time too. That's not helping matters either. I do have another report. This is from the automated weather station at the Gaylord Regional Airport. And that is showing around 0.6 of an inch of freezing rain. Might be a little more than that. That's what all our software is showing. And that is a 24-hour event total at the Gaylord Regional Airport automated weather station. So, I mean, quite a bit of freezing rain already up there, and there's still more to go tonight. So, ice storm warnings are in effect for portions of northern and lower Michigan. And there's probably going to be some not only dangerous travel, but probably some power outage issues up there. And it could take some time to restore. But for our local area, nothing like that will happen. Just the rain tonight, and then the severe weather potential for tomorrow that we will be discussing in detail in this live update. Let's get started with that. I am going to switch us over to the categorical severe weather outlook, and this outlook was released earlier this afternoon from the Storm Prediction Center. This is their Day 2 severe weather outlook that is valid for tomorrow or Sunday across the area. And as you can see, this was recently expanded north in their afternoon update. You see the orange shading, which is mainly in Indiana and Ohio, but it does extend into certain areas near the state line, like Sturgis, for example, Edwardsburg, the Reading areas around there. You are in a level 3 out of 5 or enhanced risk of severe weather. That is where the greatest confidence of severe weather is in play for tomorrow. Further to the north, in the yellow shading, which encompasses pretty much the southern half of not a little more than that of our coverage area, that is a level 2 out of 5 or slight risk of severe weather. And north of there, you see the dark green shading, that is level 1 out of 5 marginal risk of severe weather. Now, we will discuss this a little more when we look at some model data a little bit later on, but what's going to determine extent of the severe weather is tomorrow is first, we're going to see how much morning convection there is, and 2, how far does our warm front lift to the north. If you're near and south of the warm, especially south of the warm front, that is where you'll have more instability and therefore better support for potential severe thunderstorms. Not to say you can't get severe thunderstorms north of the warm front. It's just that those are going to be more elevated in nature. The instability will be more elevated. And that'll probably end up being primarily a large hail risk, if anything. Maybe some gusty winds, but it is near and south of the warm front where we'll have to pay attention tomorrow, especially for potential severe weather. I am going to switch over to our severe wind outlook, and you will note, especially in the red shading here, that is on our graphic, that's a 30 to 44% probability or high on our particular graphic. That is just where the highest confidence for damaging winds will be. But what I will note is you have this hatched area outlined on our map, and that is near the state line and points south. It is the hatched area where we are watching for some potential for isolated significant damaging wind gusts that is at or above 75 miles per hour or hurricane force. That is not to say that you can't get an isolated wind gust to that parameter, north of there. It's just that that's where we have the highest confidence of that happening on an isolated isolated basis. And But you can see even the yellow shading does go to north areas like Grand Rapids, near Ithaca, over to Sandusky. North of the red shading, you have the yellow shading, and then there's still a relatively low risk once you get north of the yellow shading. But again, once you get north of the warm front, which we will depict where some model guidance has that shortly, that is, once you get north of the warm front, the instability is elevated and wind fret's a little bit lower, but not zero. Moving on to our, severe hail potential. Now, it's not the highest in the world, but again, similar story to the severe wind risk. Like the southern half, not a little more than that. You have elevated potential for large hail, maybe quarter, $half ping pong ball size. And then the north of there, there'll be more isolated basis again, with any elevated storms that might make it up there. Final thing in the outlooks we're going to move on to is our tornado potential. Now, I'm going to be transparent with you. The tornado potential, I don't think is all that high in our local area. Greatest severe potential is tornado potential is well south of our coverage area, where even significant tornadoes will be possible. That is EF2 plus or greater. We're not necessarily expecting tornadoes of that severity here, but we are concerned about is the potential for brief spin-up tornadoes, especially in areas near and south, and south of the warm front, wherever that ends up. In this outlook, the greatest confidence for the low-end potential of isolated tornadoes is again near and south of the state line. But as you can see, the green shading, which is the very low potential on our graphic, there's still at least some potential for an isolated brief spin-up, extending up to around the I-96 corridor and points south. So, again, we're at to watch, and especially for areas near and south of the warm front, for the potential of some isolated brief spin-up tornadoes tomorrow as well. So now we looked at that, we're going to move on to some model data. Let me get that thrown up here. And what we're looking at here is the afternoon run of the HRRR model, also known as the HRR, or the High Resolution Rapid Refresh model. And what we're showing here is a model depiction of what the radar might look like. It's 6Z Sunday morning. That is about 2 a.m. local time. And as you can see in our local area, just some rain showers. Can't rule out maybe a rumble of thunder, but the chances of that look low. And again, in northern lower Michigan, you see the freezing rain ongoing once again. But let's move forward on this. Oops, maybe. There we go. We're going to go to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. As you can see, there's still some shower activity, but it is more scattered in nature. Again, we are going to have to watch any shower activity tomorrow morning, as too much of it could hamper available instability for later on and therefore lower our severe threat in our local area. But if there's less, that means more instability and therefore more severe potential than initially forecast. Also, even if we end up in between in the morning convection department, we will have to watch for any outflow boundaries that could be laid out for late convection later on in the day, as that might not only allow some isolated cells of fire ahead of the main line, but it also may provide some localized areas of additional spin for storms, allow storms to spin a little bit more and maybe produce a brief spin-up tornado. Again, the tornado potential is not all that high tomorrow, but something we are going to have to watch. Moving through the rest of the morning, heading into the afternoon, and we're going to stop at 2 p.m. You can see we do have a few storms already. Like on this image near and north of Grand Rapids. Now, I must caution you, this is a this is a model depiction of what radar may look like. So radar is not going to exactly look like what's being shown here, but again, it's just giving us a general idea that there might be storms around 2 p.m., like near and north of Grand Rapids. Going a little bit later, this is 5 p.m. This is when you see our main line beginning to form near the Lake Michigan shoreline, stretching from Ludington to Muskegon down to like Holland. It's a bit of a broken line, but another complex near South Bend. Moving forward a little bit, this is 6 p.m. You can see our line of storms now stretches from like Traverse City to Big Rapids to around Grand Rapids to Kalamazoo to near Sturgis. 7 p.m. again, now heading into the 127 corridor. 8 p.m. it's heading towards the I-75 corridor, at least according to this computer model. Again, timing might be different by like an hour or two, but again, just a general idea. And it should be, this line should be out of here. It's 9 p.m., 10 p.m. The line should be out of here by like 10 to 11 p.m. and at least according to this computer model projection. And behind that, just some additional shower activity. And I will go forward into Monday morning to show you that on the backside of this system, we may have some snow mix in, as a brief period of light snow mix in as colder air comes in on the backside. And we're not expecting anything major in terms of accumulations or anything like that, but just something we wanted to be aware of. I will go ahead and show another computer model. This is a NAM 3 kilometer model. Let me go forward to, again, same general idea at 2 a.m. Sunday morning, just some rain showers. Heading into the later into the morning, again, just some isolated activity left over. Again, we will have to watch how that is to determine if there will be any interference and available instability for storms later on in the day. Heading into the afternoon. This model does not have the storms near and north of Grand Rapids. So that is something we're going to have to watch too. Is if we can get any storms to fire in the afternoon and evening ahead of the main line, those might have a little bit more tornadic potential to it. Not much more, but a little bit more, as those would be of the more supercellular type ahead of the main line. Not only would we have to worry about the tornado potential a little bit more, but maybe, again, a little bit larger hail, like above quarter size, like up to maybe ping pong or maybe even golf ball. We're not particularly expecting very large hail, which is greater than 2 inches in diameter tomorrow. But hail would be a possibility, especially with any isolated storms that might develop ahead of the main line. But heading forward into the evening hours, it does have a similar idea, except not quite as potent with the line, but the same similar idea that a line of storms will come in during the evening hours, and the same general idea that it'll be out here by like 10, 11 o'clock. And it also shares the same general idea with a brief period of light snow being a possibility as colder air comes in on the backside Monday morning. We're going to go back to the HER for a second, go to the correct run. And I'm going to switch to a different product. I need surface dew points. And one thing I'm going to point out is that there's been it's been kind of a stationary front. We'll call it a warm front, kind of. That's been stretching from like Muskegon to Grand Rapids to Lansing, basically along the I-96 corridor. North of there, it's been cooler, and, well, it's been cooler. Like, we've been stuck in the 30s for a while here in the Ithaca area at Southern Michigan Weather Headquarters. But, again, what we're going to be watching is how far. So, like, at 2 a.m. Sunday morning, it's still hanging out around the I-96 corridor. What we will have to watch for later in the day is I will use 2 p.m. for example, is how far north this warm front can come up, because once it is areas near and south along and south of the warm front that we will have to watch for a bit more severe weather potential, including the potential for isolated brief spin-up tornadoes. And this model at 2 o'clock has it near the generally near the M46 corridor. So that is something we will have to watch. It may be a little bit further north, or it might be a little bit further south. It just depends. And that is something we'll have to watch throughout the day tomorrow. Again, it's in general agreement with the warm front being near the M46 corridor through the evening. And you can see the drier air and cooler air come in behind the front Monday morning. I am going to switch to another model. Let's do the high resolution NAM again. And really same general idea. Warm front situated Sunday morning near the I-96 corridor. And it does lift up. Well, really the same general idea. The M46 corridor. At least on this model run is where we'll be watching. It does lift a little bit further north, but same general idea. So really the greatest severe weather threat in our local area will really be especially near the state line, but then up to the M46 corridor is the main corridor we'll be watching for potential severe thunderstorms. Again, and then behind the cold front in the Monday morning, cooler and drier air comes in. Alright, one more thing we're going to look at, and I'm going to switch back over to the other model. This is more of a, we'll look at surface-based instability. As you can see through tonight, this is the wrong run, there we go. Again, it wasn't showing too much in the way of instability tonight, so any thunder chance would be very low, but through tonight anyway. I'm going to fast forward into, we'll stop here at 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, and this is on the HRRR model. Again, near and south of M46 is where the warm front should generally be, and that is where it is along and especially south of there where you'll see surface-based instability. As you can see, there's a decent amount of surface-based instability here at 5 o'clock. We're generally in the 1,000 to 2,000 range for surface-based instability, and that will remain the case. It does lower a bit into the evening, but still there's still a pocket of over 1,000 for storms to work with. But as you can see, especially after 10 p.m. on this model, there's not much surface instability left. The storms are past the area, and our severe threat should generally be ending. So we'll go to our other model we've been looking at, the NAM 3 kilometer. Again, not much in the way of surface-based instability tonight, and it does increase heading into the afternoon hours of our Sunday. And again, same general idea, generally in the 1,000 to 2,000 range in terms of instability for storms of work with. It does decrease again heading into the evening hours. The NAM 3 kilometer is a little bit slower with timing, but again, we still think severe threat should be over by 10, 11 o'clock, midnight at the latest. And that's about it. So just to review, I'm going to go back to our categorical severe weather outlook. There we go. We have an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5 risk of severe weather for areas near the state line. A level 2 out of 5 slight risk, which encompasses pretty much the central and southern portions of our area outside the enhanced risk. And further to the north, we have a marginal risk of severe weather, where depending on where exactly the warm front, where once you get north of the warm front, severe weather is a little bit less of a concern, but we can't rule out maybe some hail with some elevated storms up that way. Again, the primary concerns in order is damaging wind gusts, and we cannot rule out some isolated significant wind gusts, particularly near and south of the state line. And we're also watching for some large hail potential, and maybe the lower end potential, but non-zero, of some brief isolated spin-up tornadoes. We will also be watching what the morning convection will do in terms of instability, and whether we can get some isolated storms to develop ahead of the main line expected during the evening hours. Because earlier model guidance had some isolated cells. This latest suite did not, but we're not going to completely rule that out, especially if we can get some boundaries for storm from the morning convection for any storms to maybe pop off late in the afternoon hours ahead of the expected main line during the evening hours. Does anyone have any? We'll take a minute here and see if anyone has any questions before we sign off here. Let us know in the chat if you do. Alright, let's go back to our satellite and radar in the meantime. Oh, I should mention the primary time frame that we're looking at, we're honing in for potential severe weather, is generally, as of right now, the 2 o'clock to 10 p.m. in the evening time frame of Sunday or tomorrow. Again, we might have to adjust that by an hour or two on either end, but just a general idea. Generally, the afternoon and evening hours between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. is when we'll really need to be paying attention for potential severe weather. It looks like I haven't seen anything yet. We'll stand by for another minute just to be sure. Let me look at social media. Nothing there. Nothing. Excuse me. Alright, it does not look like I see any questions on our social media feeds or on the YouTube chat, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this live stream up for tonight, but we will be here throughout the day tomorrow, providing updates not only on our social media feeds, but we will be doing live streams as conditions warrant. Like, we'll break in if we get like any severe thunderstorm or tornado watch or something like that. Or also if we do get severe thunderstorm warnings and our potential lower, if any county in our viewing area, in our coverage area, I should say, ends up in a tornado warning, we will be here with non-stop coverage until the danger has passed. So again, just be weather aware tomorrow. Monitor for forecast updates not only from us, but other trusted sources. And just be alert to any potential watches and warnings. And we will be here with you, guiding through this potential severe weather event. So this is Jacob Melton here in the Southern Michigan Weather Center, wishing you a great Saturday night. Be safe and talk to you later. Stay tuned to Southern Michigan weather. We will keep you advised.